Hey, Stand Up Memories has a new sponsor.
Don't forget the discount.
It's the Cycling Frog, and they make seltzer and iced tea lemonade that has THC and CBD in it, and it's all the buzz without alcohol. How cool is that?
And it's delicious, and you get 20% off if you use the discount code
SUM20.
SUM20.
SUM, which stands for Stand Up Memories, 20% off, SUM20, and get your Cycling Frog at cyclingfrog.com.
Cyclingfrog.com.
All right, welcome to our delayed taping of
Thank
Stand
God
Up
that game did not go into extra innings.
We
It
have
would
to tell the
never-
audience because we're on now well after the event, but we delayed taping so the Mets could nail down the first game of the doubleheader and go to the playoffs. Our guest is happy, our crew is happy, and let's do another episode of Stand Up Memories.
That is a good idea.
Oh,
And
well.
ladies and gentlemen, we have got one of the funniest comedians ever on the show. I know him from back in the day, and I do mean the day.
Way
Way back in New York City, working the clubs, starting together, having, well, now we remember it as fun. It was pretty tough at the time in many ways. But ladies and gentlemen, comedian and also movie actor, and still going strong.
And as he built himself for years, the winner of the first New York City laugh-off.
And
That's-
I'll tell you the big name that he beat in the first
yeah.
New York City laugh-off, none other than
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie,
And Eddie came in third. Who came in second?
Schiff. Schiff came in second.
Mark Schiff. I think
Yeah.
I was in that laugh-off. You don't get mentioned if you're number 37. But let's tell our audience who this is. This is Steve Mittleman, ladies and
God.
gentlemen. There he is,
Unbelievable. How are you?
coming us from LA. You're in LA, right?
I'm in the desert. I'm near Palm Springs.
Oh, you're
in,
okay. All right. So you're
Indio.
near Palm Springs.
Indio, which is about 20 minutes east of Palm Springs. Yeah.
All right. That's nice. That
Yeah.
is so nice. And I want to, Steve, I am not lying about this.
Yeah.
A number of years ago,
Every time you say that, I know you're lying.
I'm not
I
lying.
know.
And
It's a
Steve, you're
setup
going to have
for
to
that.
think because you're going to have to explain this.
Yeah.
But we all need passwords all the time when we get new accounts.
Yes.
And I was racking my brain for a password that nobody's ever heard of, nobody will ever guess.
Yeah.
And I chose the word flirt nip.
That's so funny.
I
That's
did. I am not lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's because I remembered you and I remembered your act. And he had a bit in his act about the word flirt nip. And Steve Mittleman, take it from here.
That I'm playing my sister Scrabble, and people come up with these words, and then they do the Scrabble song. Look it up. Go ahead. Look it up. It's a word. Look it up. Go ahead. Look it up. It's a word. Look it up. It's tough to really do it sitting, but anyway. You get the idea. So she puts down the word flirtnip. I look it up. It said flirtnip, word only used in Scrabble.
Isn't that a great bit? I remembered it. It's
it
a
was
word
pretty
only used in
chaos.
Scrabble, flirtnip. And I used it as a password.
That's really good. I got to tell you, there's a guy, I don't know where he is or how old he is now, but when he was on a college trip, his parents took him to New York, and he wanted to do comedy, and they went to a club. They saw me do the bit. He called me and he apologized. He said, because I was in like Cleveland and I was starting there, and I stole your bit. I changed the name like from Flirtnip to like Ziploc or whatever it could be, a weird word, a word only used in Scrabble. And he called me years later and made amends to me. He goes, I'm writing a book about my comedy experience, and the title is his homage to Flirtnip and that thing.
No kidding.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Imagine having guilt about stealing somebody's comedy material.
and yeah,
Shut
I,
up. You know what's really crazy?
yeah,
My father, everybody used to get so pissed off at him playing Scrabble with him
yeah.
because he did every New York Times crossword
Oh,
every
smart
day.
guy.
Him and my mother didn't speak for 40 years, but he would literally draw the New York Times crossword
Yeah,
and fill it out himself so he could give her the blank one, and meanwhile they hated each other.
yeah,
But from doing crosswords, he knew every goddamn word. And we play Scrabble with him. And there was a word he used all the time,
yeah.
and we get so incensed. But the word was AI.
Oh,
AI.
seriously?
AI
Wow,
is a sheep. It's some kind
that's
of Bavarian sheep or something. And now
wow.
there's AI, which is, I haven't seen anybody bring that up. It's crazy.
That is funny. But yeah, it's funny. Your father did the Times crossword puzzle, and my dad put together the Sunday Times. That was one of his jobs. They'd work all night to get the Sunday Times, all the 85 sections. It was like this thick, and now it's like this thick. The
Yes.
but he worked. One of his jobs was that he was a working class guy, but very very different.
Remember
That
how
that thing was huge. That paper was
Yeah,
huge.
like this. I know every week, every week.
every week it was super thick. Now, the LA Times on Sunday was also that thick.
No, now it's like
Now it's thin too.
yeah,
But there's a famous story about how the
this.
paper boy threw the Sunday LA Times over a hedge and killed a dog belonging to the actress Barbara Bain from Mission Impossible.
My God.
I,
Yeah,
if you think about it, a little white fluffy dog getting hit, boom, from a thick New York
Well, I
Times or
don't know why that's
LA
funny.
Times. I don't know why you're laughing at the death of a dog.
I'm thrilled that I remember the name Barbara
Barbara
Bain. And I
Bain,
remember
she
what she
was a
looked like.
wonderful actress.
she was a cutie too. I think a
She
little bit.
was. And you know who she was married to?
Uh,
Martin Landau.
oh yeah, it makes
I
sense.
didn't know.
I remember
I
that.
met that guy. You know those stupid comedy, not comedy, but the autograph shows they have, and they try and bring in whatever stars. And he was at one of these autograph shows, and I ran into him, and
Wow.
I told him what a hero he was to the people on the Stern Show because he did that the Ed Wood movie
Yeah, that was
about
good.
where he played Bela Lugosi, which was
Yeah, he was great. He was great. That was a
oh,
great. I loved it.
home. I have no home. Oh,
But
he's
Martin Landau.
he was
scary looking guy,
he
man.
was in Crimes and Misdemeanors. Martin Landau,
He
right?
was.
He
He
was
was. Yeah.
amazing. That movie and Jerry Orbach as the bad blood brother was wonderful. Really
Yes.
wonderful.
Absolutely. Now, Steve, let's
Yes.
tell our audience that this man was there at the creation. And I mean
Ah,
the comedy scene in New York City in the early 80s.
well,
And we have the big three clubs, the Catch a Rising Star, the Improv, and the Comic Strip. Which club was your home club? You were
well,
at all three.
I managed to do the dance between all three, and it was odd. That summer of '76, I auditioned at the Improv mainly. I remember auditioning at the Comic Strip. It wasn't even built yet, but they had the three owners were there, and it was a daytime. You come in. I did a few minutes. I think I passed. I forget, but that was like 60 blocks from the Improv. So I would come in a little bit. I had jobs, like temp jobs, and I was going back to school. But comedy was so addictive that I literally, in the middle of my term, I would write letters to Mark Schiff, who I met. I met Mark and DeBellis and a bunch of people. And I I said, I got to quit school. I love comedy too much. I want to be a comedian for years anyway. I used to sneak in. I'm tall, so I used to, in like junior high or early high school, I was tall and they wouldn't question me. I would go to the Improv with my friends, and I loved it. I love comedy. I love wanting to be a disc jockey or a comedian, and I went to school for radio, and went to the School of Life for comedy, and that was
1976 is very early.
That's earlier,
That is
that's earlier than me by
what spawned you? Where were you from?
Queens, Rochdale Village, miserable childhood. Rochdale, South Jamaica is a very tough area. It became when heroin hit in the late 60s. You had like out of 20,000 people, and it's sort of like Co-op City, Rochdale. So you had like 20,000 people, 19,000 were Jews saving up to move to Long Island, you know? and but it was surrounded by a slum, literally a slum. And when heroin addiction hit, the crime rate in Rochdale went up so high, literally out of the 19,000, out of 20,000 Jews, 18,000 moved out within a few years. It was terrible crime. And we stayed because my parents couldn't afford to move. And and those that stayed became very close. So comedy sort of saved my life. I had a miserable childhood. My
were you ever mugged? Were you ever robbed?
Oh yeah, robbed, beaten up, the whole works. Yeah, really bad. The first and only time I heard, or I will not give away the punchline, that I was referred to as something good, and here's the backstory, was the day or 2 days after Martin Luther King was assassinated. I was walking home from school with Clarence Foster, who was my friend, and he was black, and about 12, at least a dozen black guys. Everybody was venting, and they were just going to beat me up. I was going to be like Beetle Bailey with Sarge. I would have looked like that. And he said these words to all these guys. I don't know if he knew them or didn't know them, but he and I were very tight. We just happened to be walking home. It wasn't a strategy like, let me walk home with a black guy, We walk home, I get surrounded, and he says these words that may have saved my life, referring to me. He pointed at me and went, "He's cool."
And that's all it took.
First time I was ever cool in my life, and actually I haven't been cool since, but "He's cool" saved my life.
If you were going to be cool, that was certainly the time to be cool.
That was the time. It was the day after, maybe 2 days after the assassination.
Wow.
So when did you first hit the stage? Was it in the city or Rainy Night House or?
Oh, that's funny. Because before Rochdale, we lived in Glen Oaks, which was walking distance from the Rainy Night House.
Which is a small, very small comedy club on Union Turnpike in Queens. We should tell us.
Comedy club. It was a kind of a variety show, right? Or it was.
I don't remember much about the variety, but I was like literally. We up until the end of third grade, I lived a block from the Rainy Night House.
Wow.
So I went to Brockport. I went to Baruch. I didn't want to be in college anyway, but I went to Baruch. Then I transferred to Brockport. Then I transferred to University of Buffalo. In Brockport, they had a Rathskeller. And that's the first time I ever went on stage. I was up all night, overnight. I had a yellow legal pad. I was up all night. I was running by material and stories to the people in my dorm room, wherever I was. And I weaned it down to 5 minutes. I whittled it down, and I bombed, but my closing was a bit that worked. It was about Nixon, and it was Nixon. I'm dreaming of a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, with no kikes or gooks or guineas, no Niger spikes or Mickeys, just Pat the girls and Bebe Rebozo.
Still funny.
I bombed for 4 minutes, and I closed with that, and it was like, you know how it is. If you close strong, it's not bad.
You know
And I
what's
got,
scary? My first time on stage
yeah,
was exactly like his, only changed the name of the college and
yeah.
changed the fact that my closing bit did not even work. But you do. I had a chance. I had a chance
Why
to
didn't you just stop?
I stop. What are you talking
I
about?
never started. What do you mean stop? I never
I
started.
I should have learned my lesson. No,
Yeah,
it's like losing your virginity when it comes to sex. Your
it's a,
first time on stage, a comedian always remembers it. Yours
yeah,
was not as
it
traumatic as mine,
was addictive, addictive.
and
But then,
it is addictive.
yeah,
And a lot of comedians will say that when stand-up comedy is working well, it is better than sex
well,
for the
I
performer.
Well, better
tell you
than
a
your
couple.
sex.
Yeah, yeah, boy. Hopefully, and it lasts a lot longer than my sex. So, it,
So what was your leap from college? Then where did
oh,
you go?
I knew well because I used to go for the fun of it to the Improv and watch, Bob Shaw,
Oh,
uh,
sure.
Barry Diamond, Glenn Super, may he rest in peace. You know, uh, I think I saw one of my first times I saw Andy Kaufman there. You know, by the way, there was a British host at the Improv one night,
Oh, yeah. What's his
and
name?
and and no, literally 10 years later, 20 years later, I went. It was Andy Kaufman. I didn't know. He was just so in character. It was unbelievable.
Are you serious? He didn't
It was
break
in,
character? He
he
did the
did
whole hosting job British?
never the whole night in a British accent, and I went, that was Andy. I mean, like that. It just popped in my head out of nowhere one day. You
One
know?
time at Catch a Rising Star, Andy Kaufman came in
Yeah,
and went up right for his set as a preacher from the South. And he was in disguise. And he
yeah,
did, and of course, the audience didn't know what to make of it. Nobody knew who he
yeah.
was or what was going on. And he got off stage and he walked right out. And then it was after he left that we figured out that was Andy Kaufman.
That's great. I got to
That's
tell you something fun. Years ago, there was a documentary about. It was about Tony Clifton. And
yes.
then Bob Zamuda played Tony, and obviously Andy did, and Andy's brother, all three of them. But with the makeup, you could not tell the difference, right? So I went to this it's called the Silent Movie Theater, is on Fairfax in LA. And I go there and I know Bob, and so, but Bob's in the Tony Clifton makeup, you know. There was like an after party kind of thing, and he's in makeup, and Andy's thing was never break character. You never break character. You know what I mean? He was all in 110%. And Bob in character is Tony Clifton. He goes, nobody else around. He goes, "Hey Steve, how you doing?" I go, "Don't break character. I don't want to know anymore. Don't
Yeah.
break character, Bob. No, you're perfect. Don't
Don't
break
spoil
character.
everything.
Don't spoil it." He spoiled it. He spoiled it. So I used to, the summers of '76, I auditioned. Like the fourth time I was ever on stage, like Diana Ross was in the audience. I was like, what pressure? It was like insane.
This is
Wow.
where? This is where?
At the Improv on
At the
44th.
Diana Ross was in the audience.
I was like, holy shit, was that nerve wracking?
Wow.
And uh, do you like wrestling? I remember one week. Remember wrestling a little bit. Remember Professor Toro Tanaka? Remember him?
Say the name again.
Professor Tanaka, Toro Tanaka.
I knew
He,
all the guys in the 50s, but I don't recognize that one.
he might have been played the Bond character, the evil with the hat, and he would fling the hat. I forget. Anyway, but he was there one time. So Judy Orbach, who you guys maybe remember, if I picked a number, let's say it was like from 1 to 35 or whatever, you just picked a number and that's when you went on, right? In that order. But she liked me. I don't know if she liked me, physically liked me, or she thought it was funny. But I'd pick 32. She goes, throw it back in, pick another number. She let me pick a good number. That was like a good. So the Improv was a good place for me. Pick a
I'm
good
having
number.
a Steve Mittleman flashback. I think it was the comic strip. I think there was a bachelorette party that was a bit unruly right down front. And
Yeah.
I remember you leaning forward to these girls and
Wow.
saying, after sex, bless you,
Sorry.
after sex, I like to smoke. And right now, I'm dying for a cigarette.
That's
Do you
great.
remember saying that? You had
Uh,
that line. That was one of your
No,
lines.
it was a joke of mine that I smoke. I smoke after sex. I haven't smoked in a while. I'm dying for a cigarette. I I want emphysema, baby. You know. So you probably I found the perfect moment for it. But I got to tell you, so I went back to school, and I went to University of Buffalo, which was the most liberal school on the planet. You know, like Afro-American studies and women's studies, and so and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I transferred there because my friends were there, and they were my roommates now, right? So I wanted to go back to comedy, but I was like studying like Tolstoy, which who knows what that meant. We had like a group therapy was a class. You know, watching TV and writing about it was a class. It was like bullshit. I had the perfect all the bullshit classes. Okay, and my dad had a stroke, and I was his dependent, even though I was paying for my own schooling, but I was his dependent. As long as you had 12 credits, you got money from Social Security because you were the dependent of somebody that was handicapped. Okay? So, because it was such a liberal school and I missed comedy so much, I said to one of the professors, can you kind of oversee me doing a class for 12 credits called stand up comedy? And he said yes. And
Wow.
because of that, the last day of the fall winter term was December 15th. And December 16th, I was hanging out at Catch a Rising Star. So I call that my comedy anniversary date because I know the date. Uh,
Huh.
and I got like $150 a month. I wasn't a starving comedian. My sister lived at 89th and Second, between First and Second. She had a boyfriend she moved in with, and I kept her place, and I didn't have to pay her rent. She was just staying with him, 5 out of 7 nights a
So
week.
you were all set.
I hit the ground running. It was unbelievable. I was very lucky because for 8 months I got or more, I got that stipend or whatever you want to call it
And this
from.
is December of 76.
That's when I started. Yeah, yeah,
Did you
officially
pass the
started.
class?
Yeah, I did, and I literally remember.
Thank God.
Where is it? But I had where the hell is it? Oh, oh wait, here it is. Imagine I had like a book, like a loose leaf, like a 3-ring thing, right? Like this thick. I was writing material like crazy, and I mailed my material to the professor like in May sometime, and I got like a B. He said, "Well, there's some good premises here, and I wish I still had it, but I don't have it." Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's
That's
just
a great story.
That
yes.
is,
I
that's
hit.
education working for the student.
Oh yeah, and then when I was hanging out at the clubs, literally because they liked me, I guess I was very fortunate. The bartenders, you would eat. I would eat a burger every club every night. If I did 2 clubs, I had 2 burgers. In fact, Mark Schiff he was the sous chef or whatever at the comic strip. He was doing the burgers there, and but on a really good night, if they were in a great mood, I'd get like shrimp scampi. Okay, now the Chinese cook in the Catch a Rising Star, he didn't know everybody's name. He hardly spoke English, and he would just refer to once your burger was ready or your shrimp scampi was ready, he would yell out something from your act. You
Oh,
know,
Ah,
and I had a bit about being going to radio in Brockport and being a disc jockey. And the first day of school, all the future wannabe disc jockeys were there saying hello to each other. Hi, hi, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, hey, how you doing? Coming at you. How you doing? How you doing? Okay. So this Chinese guy, whenever my burger was ready, he would do it in a thick Chinese accent. Hi, hi, how you doing? How you doing? Hi, hi, how you doing? How you doing?
that's great.
Isn't that great? Anyway, so yeah, that's how I knew my burger was ready.
hey,
But
Steve, do you have
yeah,
any nightmares from the early days when you started out? Any shows that went really, really wrong?
yeah. Well, yeah, I've had, there's heckler moments, and yeah. Um, Fortunately, the first time I got like a 10 o'clock spot, my friend Tom Stern, who was a big, pothead at the time, um, we got wasted. Eventually, I got my own place, literally around the corner from Catch a Rising Star, uh, literally like 3/4 of a block away. I didn't leave that block between the Green Kitchen and my apartment and Catch, and maybe I go to the comic strip. But I didn't leave. I was like one of those mafia guys that, like, you don't leave this block for 3 years. You're on the lam. Don't move. That's how, that's how I was, And ooh, wow. Anyway, the work nightmare moments. One time it was I don't know how ballsy I was, but it was like 2 in the morning. There were like 4 people in the audience, and I get into a big argument with a guy. F you, hey, I'm going to get you. Just wait till you get off stage, all that stuff, right? And I go, F me, it's like I was behind like where the waitresses are. He's walking out with his girlfriend or date or whatever. And I'm like inches away behind this little thing where the girls get their drinks to bring to the tables. And I found out he had done time for murder.
Oh,
Jesus.
wow.
So, I mean, this is who I was going, and I don't know where I got so ballsy, but one particular show. But I've had nightmare moments. There was a thing in Philly, um, Crystal Ship. They did the Doors hits, right? And
Uh-huh.
it was
Right.
at a famous place in Philly, beautiful club. It was 400 seater, whatever. And they could be the toughest crowds in the world. It was February, and people, they were delayed for like an hour. They were out freezing. The drugs had kicked in, and they go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crystal Ship. And then before Crystal Ship, comedian Steve Mittleman. And
Ah,
I got on stage and literally imagined 300 to 400 people just in unison cursing at me. Just cursing like, fuck you, motherfucker, cocksucker, motherfucker, what the fuck you doing? Get the fuck off stage. Like an endless, and then I don't know again where I got the balls to do this, but I literally went with inside, I get the mic. Oh, here's the mic. Hold on. Yeah, here, look, I got a mic right here.
All
I
right,
got,
perfect.
and they're showering me with curses for like 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to them, fuck me, fuck you, oh God, fuck you, motherfuckers, cocksucker, back and forth for 15, 20 minutes. That's all I had to do. And then I go, thank you, good night, and I cannot believe I didn't walk off stage, or anyway. And then, so obviously, that was the second show. The first show I think was bearable, but that second show with the freezing and wasted. And of
Wow.
course, the next night after the first show, the booker goes to me, you don't have to do the second show tonight.
ah,
Thank you. And that night, literally, I forgot I had a spot at the comic strip at like 2 in the morning. I had like a 2 a.m. spot. And I actually took the bus home from Philly, got to New York, Port Authority, took maybe a cab up, and I did a set in 2 different cities in the same night.
I've never heard of somebody hitting Philly and New York in one
Wow.
night.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Yeah.
very, very cool.
It was stage time, you know. Yeah, that was stage time.
Do you know what's happening? We have
Those opening for a rock band was just
The worst.
nightmare.
Don't you have a great story about?
I would love to say you were doing it for the money but you weren't. You weren't getting shit, you
I
know.
wasn't getting shit.
My
No.
story is I opened for War at a
Oh.
place in Poughkeepsie. The
Yeah.
band War, only without Eric Burden.
Oh,
And they had tons of stuff and maracas and all kinds of drums. And it was just, the stage was a free for all.
yeah.
And I went up. It was a place called The Chance. It was an old vaudeville house. And I
Wow.
bombed so bad, but at the
Wow.
end of the 20 minutes, I kind of was getting them, kind of got a vibe on what might work.
Yeah.
And then I got off stage. I said, you know what? I really sucked, but now I got their number and I know I'll get them next show.
Yeah.
And we go, and the show is over, and I'm sitting out there waiting for the next show. And the announcer goes, "Oh, we have a very light audience for the second show, so you're all invited to."
Oh no.
I will never know. I don't know what I drank or what I did, but somehow.
Did you ingratiate yourself? Could you pick it up from where you left off, or no?
I don't have any memory. All I know is I just started pounding down the liquor.
Hey,
You know,
Wow.
Steve, you know what Jackie means when he says, I was starting to get the audience?
Yeah.
He means one guy in the back row went,
I've seen you do shows and get less.
Well, that's true, too.
You reminded me of something that happened to me. I did. I was married at one time in this temple, you know, in Westwood, and a year or so later, I got a gig there, you know, and it was Orthodox Jews. So the women are sitting with the women, the men are sitting with the men. You know, I went over. I was sitting next to the rabbi, and I went over every joke, you know, and you know, he said, "Nah, I don't think so. That's not right. You can't do that." And like one joke left. Okay, so I go on stage. Before I go on stage, it's you know what klezmer music is? Da 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 da. You know, the very Jewy, you know, lively Jewish, you know. And so the guy introduces me, and the band is a klezmer band, and they're doing the Tonight Show music. Da 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 da. And I get up there and I take the mic, and the guy doesn't stop, and I'm stuck up there. Da 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 da, and I'm going, "Thank you," and they're da 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 da, and I'm going, "Guys, okay, I'm here. You're supposed to stop. This is how it works." Okay, and then I bombed. You know, I bombed the whole time. Okay, now Dennis Prager, if you know who that is, he was a radio, or still
Yeah.
is a radio personality, and he's whatever. Anyway, he laughed at one joke. That's what you reminded me of the story, and he went, "Huh?" And that was it. The joke was Jesus. I got ripped off. I was in Italy. I got ripped off on a piece of art. It was Jesus eating Nabisco graham crackers and milk, the last snack.
The last
The
snack.
last snack. Okay, and he
Oh.
went, "Huh?" And now I had to run out there because I was meeting my wife, and we were going to see the movie. Oh God, I forget the name of it, but very popular movie. Cinema Paradiso. At the time, it was very popular.
Right,
It
right.
was like late 90s, 1990 maybe. So I was meeting them. I said thank you to the guy who pays me, the guy that, you know, so then I leave, I catch them, we see the movie, it's a great movie. The next day, I have a message on my machine. Now, the Orthodox Jews are not the most demonstrative most of the time audiences. They'll just go, that's it. I mean, that's just go. And I'm not Orthodox, and I'm lucky if I could do anything with an Orthodox crowd. Okay, so it's like, so I get a message on my answering machine, right, the next day from the guy that booked me. You killed. They loved you. It was insane. They went nuts for you. I swear, I bombed for 20 minutes. All I got was, but I got a lot of, I mean, how could he possibly think I killed?
Well,
And we've all had that happen where where you're suicidal, and then somebody says that was the greatest, and you're like, what room were you in?
I know, you can't argue. It is a strange moment in time. And the reverse happens too, because I've done TV shows where you kill and they tape it. The taping is off. They don't tape the laughs well. You can.
They don't mic the audience.
Right. They don't mic the audience well. Actually, the original Letterman, I did.
Yes, I was going to. Yes, they are famous for not miking the. Yeah,
it was bad, and you'd hear
Yep.
the audience in the background.
Yeah.
And you go, I was there. I knew I killed. So the opposite happens too.
So Steve, our time is up, and
no, that's not fair.
That is unfair, and we definitely want to have you back.
I got to say one more thing.
Yeah.
All those Jerry Stanley gigs.
Yes.
All those Long Island gigs and all the Jim Balazzo's gigs. Every time I see you, all I can think of is gravy on your meat. Gravy on your meat. What's that? The high school cafeteria woman?
Yeah, I know. Gravy. 400 pounds, blue hair, white dress, look like cue balls with eyes.
Gravy on your meat. I had to say gravy on your meat.
That's a classic.
We will do this again.
Let me put pressure on you let's have a big ending here.
A list of stories for you guys, by the way.
Okay, save that.
Yeah.
I want you to go out big. Now, you promote yourself. Of course, you do mainstream audiences and you do Jewish audiences, which you specialize in.
Yeah.
Give us a good joke that you would do only for a Jewish audience, but not for a mainstream audience.
Oh God! Wow, that's a very
think.
Okay, honestly, I could do them for both, but I would change it for one and not the other. Okay. Little old rabbi is standing in front of his congregation, looks at his notes. He says, how about this? Morris Fishberg is 111 years old. And the congregation goes crazy. A standing ovation for Morris Fishberg. And the rabbi squints. He looks at his notes. He goes, oh, I'm sorry. Morris Fishberg is ill.
That's great.
Oh, that's a great joke.
Oh yeah, thank you.
That's a great joke.
This was so much fun. I may do your gig in person in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be in New York for.
We'd love that.
And you are invited back.
You are invited.
Dress sexy.
Maybe it's tricky because I'm flying out the next morning, and I'm going to be staying in Brooklyn at my sister's. It's not so easy to.
And you have another podcast in Philadelphia the same day.
We'll make it happen.
Okay.
Steve Mittleman, you are a comedian extraordinaire. Steve Mittleman, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
I want to get a copy of this too.
John DeBella says you suck.
Thank you.
I'm Jackie Martling. This is Peter Bales.
I'm Steve Mittleman.
And I get a little confused.
You are so confused.
And don't go anywhere because we wanted to ask you something. But thank you for coming on Stand Up Memories, and we'll see everybody next time.
Spread the word.